You wake up. It's the middle of the night, pitch black, no moon, and there's no reason for it. No alarm, no noise. You're just suddenly calmly awake, lying in the dark, and somewhere deep in your brain, a small voice says, "This is wrong. You should be asleep straight through until morning." Except for most of human history, that voice would have been the confused one. This is the story of how humans slept before clocks, before electricity, before anyone ever told us 8 hours in one unbroken block was the goal. And the truth is stranger, and honestly a little more relaxed than almost anything we do today. Let's start with a phrase that used to be completely ordinary, and now sounds like a typo. First sleep. For centuries, across Europe, there are written references, court testimonies, medical texts, even lines in Homer, to people waking naturally in the middle of the night after a first sleep, staying awake for an hour or two, and then drifting into a second sleep until dawn. Not insomnia, not a disorder, a completely normal, expected part of the night. The historian who uncovered just how widespread this was is Roger E. Kirch, and his research is genuinely staggering. He found hundreds of documented references to first and second sleep, scattered across diaries, legal records, and literature going back to antiquity, all the way through the early 1800s. People used that middle-of-the-night waking window for all kinds of ordinary things: prayer, quiet conversation, sex, tending the fire, visiting a neighbor. Some records even describe people using it to interpret dreams from their first sleep before drifting into the second. It wasn't a gap in the night, it was a scheduled part of it, as normal as breakfast. Now you might be thinking this sounds like a nice historical curiosity, but is there any actual biological proof that humans default to this pattern? And here's where the story gets genuinely convincing. In the early 1990s, psychiatrist Thomas Edison ran an experiment that essentially recreated ancient night length in a modern lab. He took a group of subjects and extended their period of artificial darkness to 14 hours a day, roughly matching a long pre-industrial winter night. No lights, no screens, nothing to do but sit in the dark. For the first few weeks, the subjects mostly just slept longer, catching up on exhaustion. But by around the fourth week, something remarkable happened. Their sleep spontaneously split into two distinct segments, roughly 4 hours each, separated by 1 to 2 hours of calm, quiet wakefulness in the middle of the night. Nobody told them to do this. Their bodies simply reorganized themselves. Once the artificial light was removed from the equation, landing on almost exactly the pattern E. Kirch found buried in centuries of historical records. So if segmented sleep is the natural default, why does basically nobody sleep that way today? The short, slightly annoying answer is Thomas Edison, or more precisely, cheap, reliable artificial light. Before gas lighting became widespread in the 1800s, and electric light took over shortly after, night was genuinely dark, and darkness was expensive and inconvenient to fight. Candles and oil lamps were costly, so once the sun went down, there wasn't much incentive to stay up doing anything productive. People went to bed not long after dusk, which meant a much longer window of night available for the body to naturally split its sleep. Artificial light changed the economics of nighttime entirely. Suddenly staying up was cheap, easy, and eventually expected. The night got compressed, bedtimes got pushed later, and the long, leisurely darkness that made segmented sleep comfortable simply disappeared. But here's where the story needs an honest complication, because it would be too neat if ancient sleep were simply this idyllic two-part ritual for everyone, everywhere, always. Modern researchers have also studied surviving hunter-gatherer societies, groups like the Hadza in Tanzania and the San in the Kalahari, populations living without electricity or modern schedules right now. And the findings, led by sleep researcher Jerome Siegel at UCLA, are a little more complicated than the segmented sleep story alone. These groups typically sleep in a single continuous block, not two segments, averaging somewhere around 6 to 7 hours. They don't go to bed the moment the sun sets either. They often stay up for hours after dark around the fire, talking, and they wake before sunrise, not after it. So which is it? Segmented or continuous? The honest answer is probably both, depending on circumstance, season, and how long the darkness actually stretched. In a brutal European winter with 16 hours of night, splitting sleep into two comfortable chunks with a quiet middle window makes sense. In warmer climates with shorter, more consistent nights, a single continuous block might have worked perfectly well. What both patterns share, and what modern life has genuinely lost, is flexibility. Nobody was staring at a clock deciding whether they were allowed to be awake yet. Sleep timing followed the body and the fire and the temperature and the dark, not a schedule imposed from outside. There's another detail that rarely gets mentioned, and it matters for anyone imagining ancient sleep as some peaceful, uninterrupted retreat. Sleeping in a small group, in the open, or in a shelter with no locked door, meant somebody was usually semi-alert. Group sleep in hunter-gatherer camps often shows a staggered pattern, where at any given moment, at least one person nearby is lightly awake or dozing, watching, tending coals, listening for predators. It wasn't 8 peaceful hours of total unconsciousness for everyone at once. It was a rotating, overlapping watch, sleep and vigilance braided together across the whole group, which is arguably a far more sophisticated system than one person and an alarm clock. So the next time you wake up at 3 in the morning for no obvious reason, lying there in the dark with your mind quietly turning over the day, understand that you haven't malfunctioned. You've stumbled into something your ancestors experienced most nights of their lives, an ordinary pause built into the architecture of human sleep long before anyone decided the night had to be one uninterrupted block or nothing at all. The clock changed the rules. Your biology never fully agreed to them,